when my son wasn't sleeping and I just wanted some noise for him to sleep through the night. I created this 12-hour, it was what's called brown noise, published it as a podcast. 50 to 100 listens a day happened within a couple months. We're getting 300,000 downloads a day, and we just passed 90 million, and just absolutely bonkers.
Today, we're talking with the creator of the third biggest podcast in the world. That's right. He is an Orlando entrepreneur. You're not going to believe what the podcast is actually about. But before we get into that, let's talk headlines from around the world of Orlando business. An Orlando-based startup wants to democratize real estate investing. The recently launched startup Home Construction Collective intends to disrupt the single-family housing market with a platform that accredited investors can use to directly pool equity investments for construction projects. By offering opportunities to invest in everything from single home projects to much larger builds on their fractional equity platform, the company hopes to lower the barrier for entry for would-be investors to realize returns in real estate. The harsh reality of today's housing market for many aspiring homeowners are another motivator for the company, which says on its website that their platform offers a chance for investors to help close the gap for millions of people who need homes that do not exist. Orlando fine dining is about to get even better. Unicorp President Chuck Woodall just announced a $30 million effort to add more high-end fare to the new Restaurant Row redevelopment project. We might be waiting a while before we get a taste test, though. Finrock, the slated general contractor for the project, won't be breaking ground until early next year. The high-end food project pairs well with the high-end lifestyle promised by an even bigger Unicorp project, the $100 million development of the Luxe Apartments. Swimmers can finally flex their fitness results with Flex, with a PH, that is. Orlando-based Flex gives swimmers an opportunity to benefit from a wearable fitness tracker designed specifically for their sport. And though fitness trackers for running and cycling have been around for years, they've never been particularly well suited to swimming's unique movements. Partnering with a global sports sensor company, Polar Electro, subscriptions for the app-supported tracker are just $9 a month or $90 for a whole year. Once launched, the startup will pursue a $2 million funding round to scale. Flex is a product of the lead Lake Nona Sports and Health Tech Accelerator, graduating from its first cohort back in 2021. That's it for headlines. And before we get into our story of the day, this episode is brought to you by my next entrepreneurial adventure, Out of Office Orlando, a co-working content studio where you can create content, connect with other local professionals, take a dip in our lazy river, or get a lap in on our outdoor electric go-kart track. It's like a country club where you can be productive, and I really think you're going to love it. If you're interested in learning more, shoot me an email at james@sweetfishmedia.com or send me a DM on LinkedIn, whatever tickles your fancy. All right, let's get into our story of the day. So there's some debate, Brandon, on whether or not you have the #3 podcast in the entire freaking world.
Yeah.
Because Chartable, who's like industry standard for podcast rankings, literally has your podcast ranked as the #3 podcast above in the entire world, above Smartless. Yeah. Jason Bateman, if you're watching this, Jason, this is the guy that's beating you.
The stuff you should know is #9. I will tell you that much right now.
So your favorite show of all time, most downloaded show of all time.
How does it feel to have a podcast that's beating your favorite
Let's get to
podcast?
my part of the debate. Let's get to my part of the debate. There's no way that's the case. The show, we can start with the show. It's doing incredibly well. Super grateful for the growth of this business. Started as, just want me to start from the beginning of the show, and then we can talk about how it's not the third in the world. So when my son was brand newborn, wasn't sleeping, and I just wanted some noise for him to sleep through the night. Created this 12-hour, it was what's called brown noise. Everybody's familiar with white noise. It's like that, but like a deeper noise, and so deeper frequency. So I did 12 hours of that, published it as a podcast. I tell everybody, like, I would have toggled it on private if there was a private toggle. Like, that's how little he was in my arms, and I built the thumbnail on Photoshop in like 6 minutes and just published it. And then like pretty quickly, organic growth happened. Like, 50 to 100 listens a day happened within a couple months. And then and then there were some hockey sticks, and it grew and grew and grew. And we're getting 300,000 downloads a day, and we just passed 90 million, and just absolutely bonkers. So it just keeps.
And it's just.
Well, and now it is a lot more than that. Now it's like chirp, chirp, and yeah. No, now it's like
I haven't listened to the chirp.
No, the big thing, the big reason it's different now is because now at the beginning of the episodes you get to hear your sweet voice reading some programmatic ads.
Read some ads, introing to the podcast. I had a friend the other night, we were over for dinner, and he was like, we listened to the intro, and I told my wife she can't listen to that because your voice is too sultry. I was like, because I have to be like really quiet because a lot of people sleep to it. But yeah, it was Brown Noise. Then I published Pink and White, and Brown, Pink and White got me to about 50,000 downloads a day, just like that. But then from there, I did stagnate at that point and was like, okay, this is clearly something. I didn't even know how much of a thing it was at that time, but I knew, of course, there was momentum and it was a thing. So I published 25 more and put them behind a paywall, like Babbling Brook and Peaceful Forest and whatever. And to see if people would actually pay for content like this, just like get a vibe for that. And people were paying, and that was great. But then I changed the business model entirely and made all of them for free, but put an intro and an ad at the beginning. And that's how I began to monetize it in like July of last year, when I was finally, this goon right here is just constantly the whole time, monetize. You're 100 listens a day, monetize. And I just continued to say, and honestly, I told my wife Katie this the other day, I was like, time will tell. Well, not even time will tell. I think I'll probably never know if that was the right decision or not, but I still believe it was. That I was waiting, what I was waiting for was for the snowball to get large enough to handle the dip in listenership, because what my business was and continues to be is my algorithm advantage. That's what it is. It's built on the back of, I was first to do this. And so if anybody searches for anything related to that area, if I'm not first, I'm up there. Yeah. And so, and if I dipped too low, and then there were a ton of people that rushed to the space, and I was here, and if I placed ads too early, I was afraid of this, and then I'd never get that back. So I protected that with like it was my business, because it was. And so when things started getting large enough, Forbes reached out and did an article, and that like hockey sticked me again. And then that was like July last year. Well, several months before that, I started really thinking about it. July took the jump and decided to monetize. And so I have been doing that since then, treating it much more solidly like a business. Okay, who are these people that are listening? Why are they listening? How do I get them to continue to listen? How do I get them to tell other people to come and listen? How do I make sure the content is the right fit? Because until then, it was honestly one giant shoulder shrug. I was like, this is crazy.
So the show, we haven't mentioned the name of the show yet, but it's
you're right.
12-hour sound machine.
Yeah, I guess we didn't explain.
No loops or fades. And so it is just so beautifully simple. And the utility and the problem that it solves. Yeah. You either can't sleep or your child can't sleep. And so you go to Spotify, the place where you go to get all of your audio, and you just search Sound Machine. Yep. And because of your algorithm advantage, your podcast pulls up. Yep. And it has resulted in now 90 million downloads.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Which is unfreaking heard of. Yeah. And when I hear, we're not going to share publicly what your numbers are, because it's a life-changing amount of money that you're making through programmatic ads and then post-read ads. But you're doing a lot of really smart things to kind of de-risk the business. So you recently left Disney. You were at Disney. You're doing a full-time job at Disney, and then this was kind of like your side hustle, making an obnoxious amount of money.
Obnoxious is right.
And now it's your full-on thing. And so you're talk to us about how you're trying to de-risk this business, because you mentioned you're very reliant on Spotify as a platform, your algorithm advantage. Yep. And so you're working on trying to, okay, how can I become the go-to sound machine on other on Amazon Music or Apple Podcasts. Yeah. But then you're also diversifying in terms of, like, instead of selling, the latest Toyota minivan, you're going to have your own products that you want to sell to these 90 million people that are listening to the show. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, that is absolutely the most pertinent next step, urgent next step for the business. Is I left Disney, and this became the primary source of income for my family. The business is generating a crazy amount of money, but it is, I really do say it's day to day, because that's actually legit it's actually hour to hour. Like, if people stopped listening next hour, I'd get $0 next hour. Like, it really is day to day. For a long time there, I was like waking up, refreshing, like, people are still listening. Good. and so you never know. The podcast advertising as an industry is in its infancy. I live on the fringe of what a podcast is in general, and they could make any decision that would not be beneficial for my business. And my business is built on the back of somebody else's that ultimately doesn't care about me. Spotify just doesn't care about me, so I need to be very careful and make sure that my business can actually handle ebbs and flows in marketplace competition. Right now, it can't. If Spotify diverted the algorithm away from me, my business is gone. So.
Have you sent a box of chocolates to Daniel Eck?
No, I haven't. No.
I'm just saying that could be a part of your strategic
there you
plan.
go, box of chocolates.
Just box of chocolates. Thank you, Daniel.
Do you think that Spotify like knows about you?
Yeah,
like,
they definitely do.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's the number 3 podcast
Sure.
in the
Yeah. I
world.
just mean
No,
would they go like, oh, why don't we have a brown noise channel?
I've talked with a lot of people at Spotify about what's going on, and some people at Amazon Music too, and both of them have shared the same thing of like, hey, if it's any consolation, we tried this. Like, we built out our set of sounds, we went and recorded stuff in nature, put together some digital noises like brown, pink, white, green, whatever, and like it just didn't work.
There's something about your brown noise,
yeah,
the way you engineered it, that's actually
there
pretty
is.
unique. I didn't even know that there was a difference between.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's actually kind of infinite differences because you're talking about the frequencies of sounds. Yeah. So it can literally be the lowest possible, the highest possible, any variation between. And brown noise is brown noise to some degree. White noise is white noise. So that is tough about my business. It's like, man, my content isn't necessarily proprietary, but there is something. My brown noise is pretty dope. I listen to. If I have just gone out to see like, well, what are other people doing? I'm like, I don't like that as much. I don't like that as much. My brown noise is better, and that I hear that really often. It sounds so weird. Like, that's not something I'm bragging about. My brown noise. But people are like, man, I've searched and searched and searched. I've been listening to brown noise for years, and I finally found yours. Like, I won't go anywhere else. So something, and you said something at dinner that was really insightful. You were like, man, it's all about. Did you say taste?
Taste.
It's all about taste. If you have, and that's literally what I just took the dials, and I was like, yeah, I like this brown noise, and I just published that. And so something about that, the taste in what I wanted to hear resonated. So yeah, that is the case. And then as I grow the content, I'm doing some things I'm really excited about that are unique about the soundscapes that hopefully other people aren't doing. So that has grown too. But I was saying that it's Amazon Music and Spotify. They did try. It didn't work. One other thing I was going to say about Spotify and why I believe it's worked, just as a piece of insight that I've gained, is that what I believe, and I don't have like hard data behind this, but as I've looked anecdotally and talked about a lot of people who know a lot more about the algorithm than me, I think what happened on Spotify in particular was that it is a unique platform. Amazon Music does it too, but they just haven't caught on to me. I haven't boosted there for whatever reason. But there's music and there's podcasts. And that's a platform where they both live. You were talking about this the other day of like they intentionally kept them in the same platform. And that was super helpful for things like me because I came in as a piece of content. Again, I don't know this. If anybody on Spotify is I don't know. Maybe this is not the way you run your business, but it's podcasts. They don't have to pay podcast publishers. We're in charge of monetizing our own content. They do pay royalties for music. And I came in and did something that there was quite the fire hose in already as it relates to Spotify algorithm. There was tons of ambient noise, continues to be tons of ambient noise on Spotify as music tracks. I don't know how you sleep to it because it's like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes long and they loop and fade all over the place. Loop and fade in and out. And I don't know how you sleep to that, but and so they took, how it happened so quickly and so fully and so completely, like I think they literally took a fire hose and they were like, well, we don't pay them, but we pay them. And they were like, I think that's seriously what happened because that's how quickly it grew and how organically. So I think that was part of how it worked. It was like I was in a platform that pitted the two up against each other and and at the same time as all that was happening and I was going, they were pushing podcasts. Yeah. They were everybody remembers that push that Spotify did. They were like, we are taking over podcasts and they made those aggressive moves. So I think no one can tell me that they didn't dial up the algorithm for podcasts. Like they were pushing. And so I just lived at the nexus of that. And yeah.
Any goal to win YouTube? Because that to me, just as a consumer, feels like the most natural next domain to win.
Or is it too competitive?
Yeah, I hate my answer of it's already saturated on YouTube because that's not how I run my business. Is look and be like, people are already doing it and just move on. But it is incredibly saturated on YouTube.
But have they tasted your brown noise?
Yeah, have they tasted the brown noise?
Well, it's a weird combo of like, the taste of your brown noise resonated. As weird as that, that was just an amazing thing that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But it's the taste combined with the luck of the algorithm, like you said, pointing the fire hose at your thing when it did. And I don't know that on YouTube the algorithm, because it is so saturated.
That's right.
I think the likelihood of him getting that fire hose pointed, even though his is better, his is like the superior sound. I don't.
Well, what I could do, and what I'm trying to do, which I'll transition to because it was your initial question of what am I doing now in the business to de-risk and diversify, is what I could do is just, if I just, the audience is such now that like if I just mention something, the amount of, it's 1.3 million unique listeners per week. And I mean, that is just a crazy amount of eyes or ears or whatever. And so if I could push people to the YouTube platform and get a pretty decent, as it relates to like the average of YouTube, I could get a pretty decent right away. But YouTube in particular, because it takes a long time to monetize on YouTube, it's like I'm monetizing so well on, and that's what I've really worked at. It's like I don't want to send anybody over there right now because I'm going to be losing the monetization of them for a while. So it's like that's also tricky. But
or would they just go and subscribe, but then keep listening to you on Spotify?
I don't
now
think that's,
you get a bump on YouTube.
No, I think that there's absolutely, the reason I'm even thinking about YouTube and haven't just crossed off the list is there's an incremental listenership on YouTube, totally, that aren't interested in podcasts, aren't looking at podcasts, but they watch YouTube all day long. So there's an incremental listenership there I should go and get. I think though, if I tell people, I mean, this is just my thought, I don't know. If I tell people to go from the podcast to YouTube, I feel like they'll start listening there. And I'd lose them as a podcast listener. They're not going to listen both places.
Well, if they have a Spotify, I don't have a Spotify premium account. I have a YouTube premium account.
What?
Yeah.
You don't have a Spotify?
Wow. Yeah. This is the last time I'm invited here. So
you use YouTube Music?
Well, I listen to, YouTube Music is inferior. But
sure.
But I like having YouTube Premium.
Mm-hmm,
and so like if you were on YouTube Premium, like before I even like realized that you were doing this, I used to listen to background noise on YouTube because I have a YouTube Premium account, so it never gets interrupted by ads.
That's where you go for your sounds, noise, content. So you just went there.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
If you have a lot of listeners, this is just a theory, but if you had a lot of listeners that are listening to you on Spotify that don't have a YouTube Premium account, they're not going to leave Spotify to go listen to you on YouTube. They might do it to support you initially,
maybe,
but they're not actually going to migrate over there unless they have a YouTube
Yeah, that's
Premium
true.
account.
Ain't no one coming over to listen to 12 hours where 3 hours in they get an ad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really true. And so unless they are premium and they can go ad free, that's true.
Yeah. But you're doing some really interesting things to de-risk it.
Yeah.
Particularly around I'm really interested in like the products that you're looking at building, the platforms you're looking to get into. Yeah, so dive a little bit more into that.
Yeah. Yes, as I look at the podcast is doing really well, it's tons of momentum, but that could shift at any moment to all the points we just made. So how do I have asked so many questions and tapped into so many smart people like the two of you to think, how do I think about this and what is next? And one thing that is clear is I had to answer the question of, is the podcast my business? Is it the audience for my business, just an audience, or is it something that just funds something else I want to do and funds my business? I think it's a combination of the second and the third. I don't think it's entirely my business, it's just too volatile. But I think that I need to use this, world-class is the wrong term, but just like once in a lifetime audience that I don't think anything I'll ever build will ever have this amount of people. So I think that I need to leverage that absolutely. But then this isn't ultimately what I do forever in my life. So like I hope I can build it strongly enough that either it's a sale or an acquisition or it's enough recurring revenue that I can go do something else. But to the second thing, to your question of, how do I take this audience and that is incredibly loyal, like you said, maybe they go over there to support you. The audience is incredibly engaged, incredibly passionate about these noises. And I think I have a funny story of once. Have I told you about that dad that found me, that hunted me down? He had these twins. He hunted me. I got a text out of nowhere that was like, "Are you the 12-hour sound machines guy?" This was years ago, like before it was what it is, and I was like, "Yes." "Are you outside my window?" Like, where? And he was like, "I'm so sorry to find you. I found you through Break My Tie, like through another project of mine," and said, my babies will only. I just changed white noise. I like changed it by probably like 5 hertz of a frequency, like nothing. I was like, it's a little too harsh for me. Let me. And that day, he reached out and he said, "My babies will only sleep to your other white noise, and you just changed it. My wife made me hunt you down and find it, change it back." And I said, "Bro, touche, I will change it back because you found me." And so like, but that's one story. But I have so many stories of people reaching out to say, like, "This is the only thing I will sleep, the only thing my baby sleep, the only thing that will calm down my autistic son when we go out in public." All these really awesome stories. So people are super passionate. And it's also incredibly interesting as a business value prop is like, it's incredibly habitual. Yeah. These people find their noise and they do not freaking leave.
So brands that want brand awareness, they're not trying to convert like what so many podcast advertisers right now, like BetterHelp wants you to sign up for BetterHelp.
Yeah, that's right.
A Toyota or a Coca-Cola or brands that spend probably hundreds of millions of dollars in just brand advertising.
That's right.
You are the show.
And that's exactly the message I'm trying to get to these brands, because podcast advertising, brand awareness is not the value that podcast advertisers want to hear right now. It's an uphill battle. People are like, no, show me conversions. And I'm like, I understand that totally, because most of the people in podcast advertising are mid-tier advertisers who have, like $20 million budgets or $10 million budgets, and they need to see that they have a VP of marketing that's like, "Cool, we're trying this new podcast thing. Show me the dollars that it converted." But if I can get someone who's spending in the billions and these are the big players, then they're just like, I can communicate the message to them of, listen, my data tells me that people are listening to my episodes 1.8 times a day. So they're like listening multiple times a day. If Sleep Number, if you want to come in here and get in on this, Sleep Number, if you want to come in here,
Sleep Number,
on this, then we're talking like Sleep Number. This is not like I listened to a Thursday episode of Stuff You Should Know, and maybe in 3 weeks I listen to the Tuesday episode, although I listen to every episode. This is every single day, not even a couple times a week. So, and a lot of times, multiple times a day, as their babies are sleeping, they're napping, they're sleeping, they're meditating. And so,
and they're just replaying the same episode most of the time over and over.
Yeah,
I think at the beginning.
What I have seen is that it's mostly they find their noise and they stick. Some people reach out like, "Oh, I love seeing what else you post," and like seeing the new. I've had a lot of healthcare providers reach out. They use it in their waiting rooms to keep their patients calm, and like they'll do like a sound machine of the week or something and switch things out. So like people do use it like that. I think most of the time, you find your noise and you stick with it, and then you hear Sleep Number every night, a couple times a day, and I think that's a very strong brand awareness play, Sleep Number. But to get to, if anybody was interested in your actual question, they're like, answer the question of like, what else am I doing? Which I'll answer quickly because I don't know how much time we have. But what I'm trying to do is take this audience that is passionate, that's engaged, this is a habit for them now, and I have their attention to build other products that are tertiary to this industry that they would also be interested in. Physical products. I'm looking at building an actual app. That's a common thing. There's a lot of white noise apps out there, but a lot of them aren't good, and there's really not that many. And I can do it better. I know I can. And I built apps for Disney for 10 years. Freaking
that's
like what I
did.
Thing
here is like what you get to learn from a world-class,
that's right,
arguably best in the world organization.
Absolutely.
At building digital products. You were on the Genie team at Disney, and so getting to parlay that experience into now this. So many. We were saying this at dinner the other night. So many businesses have a great product and no audience. They have the opposite problem.
Yes, that's right.
You have all the audience in the freaking world. And you also just happen to be world class in building products.
Well, that's really kind of you to say. Thank you. I know that I have the skill set to build digital products. So when I look at like where I go, I am looking at that first, because I freaking know how to do that, and I love doing it. So I did for a living. So like I'll look at building those digital products first. There's an app, I'm looking at connected TV, iOS and Android app, I'm looking at connected TV like Roku and such. So I'll build these digital products that allow my audience to ingest this content on other platforms where they're at, that hopefully, potentially are incremental to the audience that I have. So if something happens on Spotify, my business survives. And then, then physical products. I'm not gonna say the name.
Yes.
of the thing.
I want you to say the name so bad.
Okay, no, I will. It's because it's not gonna be that. I want to call it Sleepy Pete.
Please call it Sleepy
love the name
Pete.
Sleepy Pete.
Katie.
Yeah, my wife.
So Brandon's wife is not a fan of the name Sleepy Pete. I freaking love it.
She's a huge fan of the product. She's very supportive. She wants the product to exist.
Okay,
She's
so
like,
tell us
don't
about the
call it
product.
Sleepy Pete.
Sleepy Pete is a perfect name, Katie. If you're watching this, please, for the love of everything holy, let him name this thing Sleepy
The reason
Pete.
it's great is because it's so bad. And people are like, oh, yeah, awesome. Sleepy, did you say Pete? Sleepy Pete? And so it just sticks because it's like, yeah, what? And so it's like, it's just a little off. So that's why I think it's funny. But I don't have no idea if it's going to be this, but something like a physical product that, yeah, as I see what's resonated with people, it's sound to sleep in this particular situation that I'd be taking advantage of. So, okay, I put this in a product, it's a physical, maybe it's a pillow, maybe a baby or something can hold it. Maybe there's a bit of like haptic feedback or something that the baby can feel that noise and that comfort. Maybe it heats up a little bit. I don't know, Sleepy Pete.
I like it. I like it.
And they can, and so physical products, and what else can I build that people who, and if I can, here's the deal with podcast advertising. You get paid per 1,000 listens.
Yeah.
You get paid, that's CPM, it's the cost per milli is a weird term, but you get paid per 1,000. So each customer, which I don't like talking about them like this. If you listen to the show, I don't think of you as a number, but
but you are.
Yeah, but the cost per it's obviously a fraction of. So if I get paid whatever $10 CPM, I get paid 1/1000th of $10 for your listen, and that is really bad. And so if I can convert even a tiny fraction of that group of people who are listening to a product for $11.99 per person net, or I mean that's the definition of a game changer. That would absolutely change my business. So that is absolutely what I'm looking at. I don't think I had anything else to go with that, but that's what I'm looking at.
This is freaking insane.
Oh, I had I'm not the number 3 in the world. Chartable just came out and they announced, yes, I'm number 3 in the world. I'm also number 1 in the world in kids and family and number 2 in the world in health and fitness. Wow. So yes, they're the industry standard. It's amazing and that's super exciting. But like I'm not number 3 in the world. I can't be number 3 in the world.
But they just said you were, so you're not making a very good argument as to why you're not.
I don't have a reason not. I just feel really weird saying I'm number 3 in the world.
But the way you explain it, like you're playing in this different world. It's like, it's not a podcast the way we think about podcasts.
That's right.
And when brands go to do deals with, say, Impulsive, Logan Paul's show, they're tapping into the affinity that Logan Paul has with his audience. You don't necessarily have that. I mean, your voice and your host read ad at the very beginning is in it, but like people aren't listening for you and the relationship they have with you personally.
Right.
It's
but your
for
brown
this,
noise.
It's
has
for this
the affinity.
noise, these noises that you've engineered and have your fingerprint on them. You're just playing in this very strange space. So I get why you say it's not the number 3 podcast in the world, but objectively it is.
I guess if you look on paper,
standard,
which is just bizarre, but
it's insane.
Yeah, crazy.
And I think, I mean, the way Spotify ranks the shows, they used to have you very high up in the list.
Yeah, I was number 14 in America on Spotify for a couple months at the end of 2023.
Did they take you down because they don't consider you a podcast?
No. I'm like number 166 now. I've also floated outside the top 200. I think what they were doing when I was number 14 is I think they were looking at hours listened, and I think they boosted hours listened. And I mean that's why there was like 3 or 4 sound podcasts, ambient noise podcasts that were like in the top 50 episodes or podcasts in the country on Spotify, which I'm like, that's just not.
That's why if you could compete on YouTube, you do really well because that's all YouTube cares about.
Yep, for sure. No, that's absolutely a thing.
All right, well, your business is freaking fascinating.
Thanks.
Hopefully some new people found 12-hour sound machine.
Yeah, man.
A little bit. Get you that
Thanks,
1,000.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Keep an eye out for Sleepy Pete.
Sleepy Pete coming to a
link in the description.
Coming to a Shopify store near
there
you.
You go.
So we close down these episodes by talking about one of our favorite people, places, or things. Timmy, what you got for this episode?
One of my favorite things is this soda, not sponsored. Olipop.
Not sponsored.
I'm gonna go with Spin Drip. So
No, this is way
how does it
Spin Drip.
compare to Spin Drip?
This, as opposed to like someone sneezing on a lemon, this
doesn't taste like someone sneezing because it's got real lemon in it.
Okay. This also has real orange in it.
Okay.
But it also tastes like an orange soda. Like this tastes like if you bought like a really bad for you orange soda, except it's really good for you.
See, that has 43 calories in
45 calories.
45.
Yeah.
So mine has 12. What's the? I mean, is it?
You want to taste it?
It's. I mean, yeah, I do. Let's see here.
It's gonna taste a lot better. It's gonna have
What do you
actual
think?
flavor. Yeah,
But that
Spinach
has
is a
actual
whole different
flavor.
play. Is a whole different play.
Okay.
It's apples and oranges.
But that's got more
well.
artificial stuff in it.
No. It's stevia and orange. Yeah.
Man,
I feel
I do like it. It's more expensive though, right?
Yeah, it's like $2 a can. Well, it's like
my
$2.50
God.
a can. Yeah.
Woo! You need that sound
You
machine
need
money.
that no loops or fades, man.
No loops or fades money to get some of that Olipop.
Yeah. It's so good though. Like if you want to drink soda, but you don't want to drink soda, but you don't want the health problems associated with it. Like this is really good.
All right, Olipop, what do you got? Favorite people, place with them?
Kind of because you're sitting in front of me, but also I just always shout this from the rooftops. But I also told you about it. Is Duna?
Yeah. Oh my gosh! If you have a child, if you're about to have a child and you have not heard of Duna, go.
Yeah. The 30-second version it's essentially a magic machine that
One
it's
would
magic
call it a
contraption.
transformer.
Yeah, it's transformer. It's transformer of your life. A transformer of yeah. And so it's a car seat, but it transforms into a stroller. And I know it's like, oh, okay, I guess, but like I have a stroller and I have a car seat, but you don't have.
Do not have a Duna.
And I'm telling you, the conversation you and I had, the last conversation I had was you were like, hey, I'm sold because you've told me this and I trust you, your opinion, but I'm trying to get my wife on board. Like, why don't we just get a stroller and a car seat? And I was like, how do I make you understand? How do I make you understand? And it's just, you just have to, you have to use it. It's incredibly helpful. It's very, very convenient and easy. You pop it out of the thing and like pop it into a stroller, go to the grocery store.
It's like button click to get it out of the car seat.
Yeah.
Button click.
It makes you feel so cool because it's still not incredibly popular, and so people don't always see it.
feel like
so
you're in
like
the
I'll get
end.
out of the car and be like,
Look at me! Look at my transformer!
Look at into the stroller, and everybody's like, what? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's a Duna.
So they have
You're like pushing it around. There's no baby inside. You're just trying to get attention.
I just saw that Duna dropped another product called it's like the Trite,
Mm-hmm.
and that thing is much more of a complex contraption.
Yeah.
Which just reminds me the brilliance of their original.
Yeah.
product.
Kind of does that. Yep.
It's just so easy, so simple. Like going into the post office, you don't want to get the kid out of the car seat into a stroller.
It's those in-between
You don't wanna pick
moments.
him up. It's the in-between
That's
moments.
what's helpful about a Duna. It's not the fact, it's like, yes, if you're going to Disney, you're not going to push around your Duna. You're going to push around your Baby Vista or whatever. But when you're just like, oh my gosh, I just got to go drop this letter off, and I can't leave my baby in the car because I'll get called, like the cops will get called on me. So, and it's not a good thing to do for a baby. And so you just pop it out. It becomes a stroller, and it's just, that's what's amazing. I love feeling so superior to the people schlepping in. They're like, and they're coming into the post office, and I'm just like purposely doing circles. Yeah, Duna's great. It's a great product.
All right, that is it for Orlando business.